Crews are busy with Tall Ships preparations today, but apparently Rochesterians are not, at least not yet. Only 51,000 of an estimated 240,000 tickets have been purchased for park and ride shuttle service. Organizers say using one of the sites scattered across the county with a shuttle ticket is still your best bet for easy, hassle-free access. Slow sales may be attributed to families waiting to firm up their weekend plans, but according to the Tall Ships Committee, he who hesitates may be without a parking space. There are other options. You can walk to the site, but you'll still need admission tickets for the Tall Ships display areas themselves. You can bicycle. There will be grids for locking your bike in the lot next to Abbott's Ice Cream. Or you can catch the RTS Lake Avenue bus downtown. Parking at all city lots Saturday and Sunday will be free. If with all those choices you still feel compelled to drive your own car, the Tall Ships organizers offer this word of advice. Drive that car anywhere north of Ridge Road, and your fun weekend is liable to turn into a traffic headache. Pete Dobrovitz, WOKR Eyewitness News.
In the last few years, John Punt and Lou Fichter have made their living chartering fishing cruises on Lake Ontario. But come Thursday, they're going to join a small armada of charter boats tolling for Tall Ships. If you're looking for a boat ride, they say there's still plenty of room.
We'll be able to ride right alongside. They'll have a very good view of them. The channel is just so wide, and they'll have it cordoned off, so we should get a very good view of them.
125 people are registered charter captains in Rochester. No one knows how many will be offering tours for the Tall Ships. The Genesee Charter Association, a group of 8 captains, will be offering rides from the Pelican Marina at the end of River Street. Hourly cruises will be available for $20 a person. For $400, up to 6 people can get a boat to take a 4-hour cruise to greet the arriving ships, watch the fireworks, or sail out with the ship Sunday afternoon. If you do sail on a charter, make sure the captain is licensed and insured.
The charter boat operator has to go through extensive testing given by the Coast Guard, and most of them around Rochester have a 6-passenger for hire license. That is, they can carry 6 passengers on their boat, but no more.
If you own a pleasure boat and are thinking about picking up a few bucks under the table by chartering cruises while the Tall Ships are here, the Coast Guard says think again. The fines start at $2,800, and it can land you up to 3 years in prison. Jim Redmond, WOKR Eyewitness News.
Esmeralda sells some 5,000 crabs a day for bait from her Hollow Grinder fish store. She also sells about 200 pounds of other bait each week. Recent studies show that 32,000 cars a day pass her store near the Stutson Street Bridge. But beginning tomorrow and running through Sunday, private vehicles will be kept away as part of the parking plan for the visit by the Tall Ships. She's mad and says her business will be hurt.
It's going to put me in a real good hole, about a good $8,000 loss.
Can you do anything about it?
No way, because there is nobody. I asked some suggestions, some help, and everybody put their hands in the pocket and shook their head.
But another businessman, Vince Santasaria, who has a meat market around the corner on Lake Avenue, disagrees. He thinks the huge crowds, which could reach 250,000 people over the 4 days, will be good for business.
Yeah, I totally disagree with the merchants. As long as we have traffic, if they have any ambition to put up any stand or anything to make a living, they could do business.
What's it going to mean to your business, think, having thousands and thousands of people down here?
I think it will decrease our inside business, but will increase the outside business and pop and beer.
The traffic restrictions may keep regular meat customers away, but Vince thinks he can make up the difference with his hot dogs and hamburgers. Closer to the actual docking areas, all the eateries and bars have been busy stocking up for an onslaught of customers. Everybody's busy down here making last-minute preparations, but the stores won't know until Monday if this has all been good or bad for business. Alan Harris, WOKR Eyewitness News.
Today was the day for last-minute details. Lori Lissman spent it painting the symbols on the newly refurbished restrooms in Ontario Beach Park. Other county and city employees spent the day on bigger projects, like getting park benches in place for this weekend's crowds. Sesquicentennial Chairwoman Rosalie Hansen says she's been deluged with last-minute requests for special passes to drive to Charlotte. It seems everyone thinks they're a VIP.
We're all going to be taking buses. There are no places to put cars in that area unless we want to exclude people.
A lot of people were worried the construction projects on Beach and Lake Avenues wouldn't be finished in time. They can rest easy. The projects are done. The head of the Charlotte Community Association says the city has answered most of the neighborhood's concerns.
I think the one question is still the number of walk-ins. because we have control of the number of people that will come in on by buses. The walk-ins and bicyclists, there's a variation there.
A lot of the last-minute details will continue right up into this evening. And then tomorrow, it all gets put to the test. About 75 to 80,000 people are expected to jam into Charlotte in hopes of getting a glimpse of the tall ships. Jim Redmond, WOKR Eyewitness News.
The sky looked threatening when we took off from Rochester shortly after 5 tonight. Weather reports from Toronto said that city was getting some rain, but the word was the ships were on the way. After 20 minutes over open water, we spotted the lead ship about 15 miles off Toronto with the city skyline in the background. And the rest of the fleet was in hot pursuit. The 25 tall ships are racing across the lake and will spend 4 days here for the sesquicentennial celebration. There were some not-so-tall ships tagging along for the ride. But even with the spectators in the other boats, the tall ship's trip across the lake is a big break from the crowds. About 250,000 saw the ships in Toronto, and thousands more are waiting here in Rochester. The tall ships are due in Rochester tomorrow morning around 9:30. We're told they may hit some rain, but the weather outlook for sailing is generally good. Doug Embledge, WOKR Eyewitness News.
One by one, the tall ships turned into the port of Rochester, each escorted by a flotilla of smaller craft. Eyes peered through binoculars and cameras, but soon the soaring masts seemed to fill the sky. Some applauded the visitors on ships from faraway ports, but many more watched with an almost reverent silence.
Spectacular, like something from a different era. It seemed like a different century rolling into Rochester. It just was incredible.
Many of the largest ships arrived during the morning. Their crews, weary from the night crossing, still answered questions from dockside visitors. Some in the crowd said they had expected the tall ships to be, well, taller, but no one regretted coming.
We didn't see any under sail. We hope to Sunday when they leave, but I think it's a great thing for Rochester, and it's too bad that we can't get more people down here. If this was Saturday, we'd have more people down here.
By early afternoon, this whole section of the dock was jammed with ships as well as people. But more were arriving every hour because this is, after all, part of a race. Jim Redmond has that story.
This is Jim Redmond. Under a light breeze, the first of the tall ships crossed the finish line just after 5 this morning. By the time the Zenara Charnsey pulled into Charlotte Harbor around mid-morning, more than a dozen ships were already at dock. But race officials say it doesn't matter who crosses the finish line first. The Molson Challenge race is handicapped to give all ships an equal chance.
Like anything else, we're dealing with a lot of boats which are of different sizes, so you have to handicap them. The smaller boats have a handicap which gives them more time to finish than bigger boats.
The unofficial winner of the race from Toronto is the American ship, the Providence. The 110-foot-long sloop also took first place in its class. Some of the captains say they were hampered by light winds overnight.
We were all pretty spread out after the first couple of hours. The first couple of hours was very light air, and people were just sort of jockeying for position. It was a very quiet day, so there was no excitement.
Part 2 of the race is scheduled for Sunday when the ships leave Rochester. From here, they will race to Amherst Island off Kingston, Ontario. It's an exciting life racing from port to port aboard one of the majestic ships. For a look at life on the tall ships, we go now to Patrice Walsh. Okay.
This is Patrice Walsh. 2 crew members aboard the Polish ship Trigwa apparently liked their recent visit to Toronto so much they decided to defect. They have family then in Toronto?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know.
But are they still there in Toronto? They plan to stay? They're not going back to Poland, is that?
I know nothing about their plans now.
Okay. They're no longer with you?
Yeah.
Immigration and customs officials routinely checked the Trigwa and its 5 crew members when the vessel sailed into Rochester this afternoon. The defection was the talk of the dock today. Crew members aboard other tall ships said they heard about it when they arrived in Rochester this morning.
I've understand this has happened before on Polish ships, but when they've been over here, and I hadn't heard anything. First I heard about it when we got here. There wasn't any discussion there about it, of course.
The tall ships are as different as any collection of ships you'd find in a marina. The Providence, one of the larger ships in the fleet, is captained by Albert Roderick. It has 5 main sails and can travel at speeds up to 11 knots. It is a reproduction of a 1776 warship and was built in 1976 for the bicentennial.
This type of rig, called a square topsail sloop, was used from the about early 1700s through the middle 1800s. It hasn't been really used at all since then.
Crew members aboard the tall ships say they occasionally find a few minutes to sit down and relax, but most of the time they say it's a lot of hard work. The crew wouldn't allow us below the deck of the Providence because they said it wasn't cleaned up yet. We did see the galley and sleeping quarters of the Canadian ship, the Joanna. It sleeps 14 with just about enough room to turn over in bed. The public will be allowed to board the ships tomorrow. The ticket cost is $2. But thousands came down to view the fleet from the dock today anyway. They came not by car, but by shuttle bus. Pete Dobervitz went along for the ride.
This is Pete Dobervitz. Does the much-heralded tall ship shuttle system work? Well, the only way to find out was to give it a go. The line in the War Memorial lobby for parking tickets doubled back. As it inched slowly forward, some grew testy. Others, like Sandy Rubin, took it philosophically.
I'd rather wait now than to wait down at the lake. If it's well organized down there, so be it.
After 1 hour and 10 minutes of waiting, I finally hit the ticket window. Only one had been open for most of the morning. 4 parking lots of 26 had already been sold out today. My choice, a pink ticket for the pink lot, Holliday Stadium. There was ample parking space, and the pink-coated buses running every half hour were right on time. The color coding is easy to identify and to understand. On the 30-minute ride from the stadium to the site, the process was drawing mixed reviews.
So far, I think it's really good. I haven't had any problems getting tickets or with parking or anything.
At this point, I can say that they're very poor planning on the ticket sales and that kind of thing.
Once here inside the restricted zone, police agencies reported only 2 problem areas of concern on this first day. The pier had to be closed to pedestrians. Police feared a safety hazard. And the Stutson Street Bridge was closed to cars, even those that had proper permits. Those on the east bank were shut off from the west by automobile.
Any vehicles. It's too bad it has to be that way, especially for the people in Irondequoit who are familiar with coming over the bridge to this area. But because it's closed, they're just going to have to find another way.
No, at the moment I am just hanging about the international line, the boundary between Canada and America. I'm just sailing backwards and forwards, hoping that this may be resolved. The only reason for impounding this ship would be as collateral for any claim that was made, but we understand this is an act that is quite often done. A writ is issued, and if it is nailed to our mast, we are unable to move.
Master Adams told me if a bond could be raised, his ship might be protected. Then plans could change, and he might be able to return to help Rochester celebrate the tall ships.
We hope so too. We are so very disappointed that having been given the wonderful reception that we were given by all your small boats, that I had to actually pull away. But let's hope that it will be resolved and that we will be visiting you shortly. Over.
Just great. The walk was a little too long, but the ships are just fantastic.
I think the ships do. Sometimes you have a tendency to, in your own mind, make things a lot bigger, but I'm very impressed with what I've seen down here today.
People who live in Charlotte are probably having the least fun. They have to go through all the traffic and police to get in and out of their homes.
My husband came home tonight and was very upset because there were so many barricades. He had to go through 5 of them to get home. And, you know, he thought he'd have to go through maybe 1. So, you know, he definitely is upset about this whole thing.
Another inconvenience is the helicopters and the planes all day just hovering over our houses. And you couldn't watch the TV because it would distort the vision, and you couldn't listen to the radio because it would blur.
lines at Ticketron outlets like this one began forming at dawn. The system was being tested. At the Monroe Community College parking lot, the system fell apart. A mile-long line was forming faster than infrequent buses could cart people away.
It's a real mess out here. There's no question about that. I think the people summed it up with the screams, "Where's the bus? Where's the bus?" And somebody yelled, "Nobody's listening." There's nobody out there that seems to give a shit.
5,000 people were brought in on 80 buses this morning before the festival even began. That produced a backlog, and it's taken most of the day to work things out. There were lines in the concession areas for food and drink. There was the line to end all lines just to stroll by the tall ships. The lines plus the heat produced an equation that posed new problems to medical personnel.
There's some heat problems. We've moved the lines going into the tall ships so that the people are in the shade for the most part. We've taken them out of the parking lot area. We have extra medics out there with water and ice and things of that nature.
It's believed today's crowd could easily double yesterday's estimate of 20,000, as many took the start of a 3-day weekend. Saturday and Sunday could tax the shuttle, concession, and viewing procedures still more. The committee that wanted to prevent long lines put one finger in the dike by halting tall ships tours, but are now faced with leaks everywhere else. To borrow a page from Animal Farm, the best way into Charlotte may be 4 wheels good, 2 wheels better.
No problems, all downhill. There were no crowds or anything.
Patrice Walsh was at the pier for more on those canceled tall ships tours.
Crew members from one of the tall ships, the Zawisza Czarny from Poland, apparently didn't realize that the city had pulled the plug on all onboard tours. At 11 a.m. this morning, anxious visitors were told to start lining up for tours. Hundreds crowded alongside the ship, and it quickly turned into a push-and-shove situation.
There were people who were very eager to mount the gangway, we had some problems in handling the crowd. The line was, I think, several hundred people long.
We came up from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania for this, and bought our tickets to the shuttle bus ahead of time on the assumption that we'd be able to get on the ships. And last night we found out that we weren't going to be able to, and we said, well, it's disappointing, but we understand with the crowds, and then have this chance, and then it snatched away too by exactly what they were afraid of happening, is that the crowd would get out of control.
No one was hurt, but crew members called police and security guards in to help control the crowds. Police made an announcement that there would be no tours aboard any of the ships.
The crew has been very friendly, want the people to come aboard, and the city won't let you on. Now, I can't see the reasoning in that.
What happened this morning is exactly what city officials say they were trying to avoid.
We knew that we would have long lines, and we did not want people to have to wait any longer than necessary, and therefore we decided that this was the best thing to do.
The city says viewing the ships from the dock is just like having one foot on the deck. But many people say they'd like to go aboard anyway and judge that for themselves.
They put so much effort into keeping people out of the area and safe that they've kept the people from really seeing and enjoying. I think they overprotected.
Patrice Walsh, WOKR Eyewitness News.
The defection of 2 Polish sailors in Toronto pushed politics into the tall ship celebration last week, and the pressure on those left behind gets intense. Some Polish captains asked their crews to avoid speaking about the defection, and tonight that was easy to do. It was time to exchange a little culture between Polish Rochesterians and Polish sailors.
All sailors on all world are very friendly, and they try help
one sailor to another.
Some sailors spend the rest of the year as students, and the water is a wonderful way to live the summer.
There is silence on the sea. We can see fantastic sunrises and sunset, and everything under the sails is very, very nice.
Are you having fun?
Yes, thank you. A lot.
The sailors say it's been a whirlwind tour with a lot of official duties, but lasting impressions will stay with Polish visitors and Rochester's Polish community alike. Linda Rhodes, WOKR Eyewitness News. It was the only part of the Tall Ships festivities that you didn't have to stand in line to see. At noon today, Tall Ships visitors were treated to a parade down Lake Avenue. It was led by the Old Guard Fife and Drum Corps from Washington, D.C.
I think it was an outstanding display of Americana, if I might put it that way.
Because I think it's bringing the importance of Charlotte Beach back to Rochester, so everybody knows they have a nice beach down here, and everybody's coming down to enjoy it.
I love parades. I think this is one of the nicest ones. They've had a perfect weather for it, and I think it's just been an enjoyable day.
The parade lasted just 30 minutes, and when it was over, most of the crowd headed back to catch a glimpse of those tall ships. That meant standing in long lines. Some people said they waited as long as an hour to get on the dock, but later in the morning the lines moved quickly, and the wait was only 10 to 15 minutes long.
Walked right in there, the line's moving real quick. Figure it might be through here. Maybe they say 2 hours yesterday, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that long.
As long as it's not too hot, people are friendly.
This is wonderful. It's the 4th time I've been over. I just came over with some new friends to show them around too. It's wonderful.
Is it worth? All morning they've been moving fast. It's just been hot, that's it.
City police say there were no major problems despite the hot temperatures and the crowds. And it was crowded no matter where you were in Charlotte. People filled the beach and picnic areas in Ontario Beach Park. The dock was wall-to-wall spectators. And the river was crowded with pleasure boaters viewing the ships. Believe it or not, there's more to see in Charlotte than the tall ships. The RPO performs tonight at 8, and at 10 o'clock the fireworks display will begin. City officials say if you plan on coming down tonight for any of the activities, you should also plan on staying a little bit longer. They say it could take as long as 2 hours for the buses to shuttle everyone to the various parking lots. Patrice Walsh, WOKR Eyewitness News.
The party on Charlotte Beach these last 4 days has sometimes even had music appropriate to a beach party out of a 1950s movie. The crowd on the beach has been good-natured, even as the tightly packed bodies jostled into one another in the quest for a glimpse of the ships.
It's very nice. All the different ships came from different countries. I like it.
This is the 3rd day we've been down here.
Has it been worth it?
Yes, we're having fun. We're enjoying it.
Did you come down for yourself or for the baby?
He likes activity, so I'd say 50-50. He likes people and he's just glad to be a part of the group here. We rode our bikes, so that helped.
Even with their masts down, the tall ships are a romantic sight, hinting of adventure on the high seas. Coming to see them is an adventure, too.
We just came down today from the Buffalo area.
And has your son been asleep all this time?
No, actually we had a walk from about 2 miles away. He just conked out about 15 minutes ago.
Well, we biked down Thursday, and my husband and I, and we saw him. We came down Thursday, and we came down Friday, and now we're down today to see the big ships go out.
Has it all been worth it?
Oh, I should say so, yes. It's been marvelous. You'll never see something like this again, I don't think.
So, was it all worth it? Was it a good time? Well, fun, like beauty, is in the eyes of the beholder. Some people did complain that the tall ships were not as impressive as they thought they would be. But whenever you have high expectations riding on an event, you're bound to have some people disappointed. If you came with a smile in your heart, you were likely to find that it found its way to your lips. Marty Griffin, WOKR Eyewitness News.
They were literally pulling up stakes in Charlotte today, cleaning up after a celebration that brought hundreds of thousands of visitors to this community by the lake. The tall ship's visit had its low points. Some complained the lines were too long. And on Sunday, the wind wasn't right for a scheduled sail down the shore toward Webster. But most of the visitors seemed pleased with the whole affair, and so did the people who live here.
A lot of fun. We came down here, we were down here 3 days, and we enjoyed it a lot.
I think we had a very, very congenial crowd that behaved themselves.
Charlotte was hardly a ghost town today. There was a good-sized crowd here at the beach, and the people who live and work in this community say they hope the visit of the tall ships was just the beginning. And they're hoping that the people who came to see the tall ships will remember Charlotte. The president of the Charlotte Community Association is asking that the Lakeshore Festival Committee remain active instead of dissolving now that the ships have headed to sea.
Our people will have to be the beneficiaries. We will use that area in the future for what it should be. A water-based recreational area for our entire region.
Ferraro agrees the tall ship celebration brought people back to Charlotte who hadn't been there in years. The hope now is that it won't take 21 historic sailing vessels to get them back again. Doug Embledge, WOKR Eyewitness News.